Look, stop chasing title and start chasing value. Short-term pride can cost you long-term growth. Sometimes the best thing you could do for your career is actually taking a step back. Before you get all upset and say, hey, look, you're worth more than whatever you think you're worth, or you think that, the job might be beneath you or something like that. Job market's tough right now. And pretty much people are looking for experience. And there are so many people applying for jobs. There are more people applying for jobs than there's jobs available. So pretty much the best person is going to get picked every single time. So what do you got to do sometimes? Sometimes you got to be the best person. So you might have to take a step back to take a job that you feel like you're too qualified for, to take a job, to take a position and move yourself forward. I'll give you a perfect example. I've done it before myself. So years ago, I had a job and I had a lot of responsibility, thousands of employees, multiple territories. I can continue to get promoted, or I could just take a step back. So what happened was I found a company that I felt was pretty good company, and they didn't have the position that I had at the time. They didn't have it available. So I just applied for the job that they had, which is probably 4 levels behind. So I took a pay cut, like a huge pay cut. And most people saying, well, never do that, never take a pay cut, never compromise on pay. But what I saw was I didn't see that it was a pay cut. I saw that there was a lot of opportunity at that job to grow. It was a growing company. Company was getting a lot bigger, a lot faster. And I knew at that time, and I had a direct contact with the CEO of the company, like pretty much a director of operations. So I had thousands of employees, but I took a job as a supervisor with 1 employee, right? And half the pay, more than half the pay. Now, luckily I saved my money and I had a wife that was able to support my, quest to take less responsibility. So I did. So what happened was I got into that job, and immediately the CEO and the VP knew, hey man, this guy is overqualified, but I wanted to get my foot in the door. So what I did is I just showed out. I showed the fact that I didn't belong there. And that's what I tell my kids all the time. If you don't belong there, break all the records. And that's exactly what it was. Is I came in as a supervisor, a job that I had done like 10, 15 years before, and I just showed out. And would you know it? I mean, it wasn't even 6 months that I was promoted right back to where I started from, and then ended up making 3 times more money than I did at 4 times more money than I did at the old place I was at. So, a lot of times that people don't want to do it, but it's kind of the best thing. Everybody says they want growth. Everybody says they want more opportunity, but the second something looks like it's something that they believe is beneath them, they ain't with it no more, right? So you can't do that. And the biggest thing that people get happens is their ego gets in the way. And I'll be honest with you, I went from having my own office and my own cell phone and the car and all that kind of stuff, and then I go lowly to sitting in a cube over in the corner and having to call IT, when before I can just have the guy just do whatever, pretty much they were at my beck and call, but now I got to fix things myself. So I went from high level executive to carrying the water, right? And that took a lot for me to get over. But I did, right? And the second time I did it again later in my career too. Basically I worked my way back up to that director-ish role, running the entire continent of North America. And I quit that job to work for myself. I went from VP-ish of the organization to holding open houses on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, the biggest gut check for me was the ego, the blow to my ego to say that I am just a lowly real estate agent running around. But don't worry about what it looks like to other people, right? And stop letting people tell you that what you should do. I'm just telling you, I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm telling you from my experience that taking a step back and taking the job take the job, not for more money. I've never taken a job for more money, only for more opportunity. So don't take the job for more money. Take the job that you see that there's a runway for you to get to the next level. Take that job for that reason. Don't take jobs for the wrong reason. And here's another thing. When I got there, I didn't know the culture. I didn't know the job. I didn't know anything about the job. So how could I come in at the same level that I'm at and then lead the same way that I did at my old place? I had to learn the systems. I had to get my hands dirty. I had to learn how everything worked in and out. I had to learn who were the key players were in the organization. But I learned that by taking a step back, because if I had done a job that I'd done 10 years ago, everything was in slow motion. So I'm sitting there 10 years to their senior, sitting in the job that I'd done 10 years ago. And it's like rattling off like it's nothing. But that's where people get messed up. They start thinking about what are people thinking about me. And I'll go back to the real estate thing. So for me, I never really got good at selling real estate until I admitted the fact that that's what I did. People would ask me all the time, hey man, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, you know, I kind of sell some real estate. I do this, I do that. Because I didn't want to tell anybody that I just sold real estate, right? Because I was kind of embarrassed that I was no longer this title of the whatever. Now I got a saying now that you can call me the janitor of whatever. Like, I don't care at this point. But back then I was worried about the title. I was worried about the allure of who I was, the president of this. I got my own parking spot and all that kind of stuff. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. Nobody does. So get your pride out of the way. Number one, if you can get your pride out of the way, you get less status, less pride, big learning, you know,